You know, I was cruising through the Washington Post online this week, and I saw this headline, America's Most Accomplishing Politician. Who could this be, I wondered. So, of course, I clicked on it. Well, it was a column by George Will, I'm not a sucker, about Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan. Got me wondering about reaction to this, if George Will is on point, and how press like this plays into the mayoral race and the debate in the upcoming few weeks. And, Stephen, I'm going to give you first crack at this one. You read this, eh?
I did, and I thought it was, it was pretty indicative or reflective, I guess, of the way the national media have covered us here in Detroit, which is pretty surface and not getting into a lot of the detail and looking at the whole city and how it's doing as opposed to just the things that are going right. There wasn't anything in there that was inaccurate or untrue. It's just that it's a partial picture of the city, and calling him the most accomplishing mayor is probably a little bit...
No, most accomplishing politician.
Politician, right. I think that's maybe a little further than I would go. I mean, there's other really great mayors around the city doing things differently than Mike Duggan is. But you know, I think he's a fine mayor. I think he's done a fine job. I thought this was a little bit over the top.
How did you think this plays into the mayoral race? And,
well, I don't know if it helps him or hurt him to have George Will, America's
Nobody
conservative,
in America's really, or no one in Detroit's really reading George Will.
Well, we're going to run him tomorrow in that column in the Detroit News. You know, I think we went through a long time when the partial story being told by the national media was a very negative story.
Yeah.
We haven't enjoyed this sort of positive press, particularly regarding our leadership. I mean, if you think about the stories that have been written about our local leadership over the last decade, not been that great. Right. So I don't think I think it probably was a little bit. He was
quite purple.
Yeah, but I do think that it helps the city. It helps Detroit.
Debate's coming up in 2 weeks, and both of you gentlemen will be asking some questions, I believe, or
I will not. Coleman Young II and his puppet master Adolph Mongo refused to agree to debate if I were on the panel.
Nolan, tell me how you really feel about it.
Well, I feel they're running scared.
Sure. I have some real mixed feelings about the format of the debate and things like that. I don't like. I mean, Nolan and I disagree on all kinds of things. You disqualify him for political reasons. That's an attack on the press, not just on him, and so I'm not sure that I will go along with that either. I'm really disappointed that this debate, the debate about the debate, has gone the way it has. I think, again, and I've said this many times over many years, there needs to be an independent way to determine that these things happen, and they happen in a fair way.
Do you know that I'm going to write down every time you say debate commission over the next 5 years? I'm going to write it down and remind you that that's your job. Get on this.
We've been working on it. We can't get there because everybody wants it for themselves. And they're not thinking about the voters, which are who they lose out when it happens this way.
All right. Well, you know, the Detroit mayoral debate is coming up. Duggan and challenger Coleman Young II will debate on Wednesday, October 25th, in a joint production between Detroit Public Television and WDIV, Local 4 market calendars, and the Detroit News.
As well.
You can see it right here on Detroit Public Television.